Hello, this is Julian again, here in the downtown of Mexico City. As you can see, I'm here in the entrance on a very famous right now corridor or passage known as Madero Corridor. It is just near from the Beauty Arts Palace. The entrance is just below the big Latin American tower. This this avenue of Madero is one of the main entrances to the main part of downtown. So we are gonna wait here with all the people. Usually gathers a lot more to cross over and enter. Madero Passage. Look, let's go with them. Let's accompany with all the people. So we're just entering the very first part of Madero Passage. This is the regular view you'll have when you enter. Below the Latin American tower, there are businesses. This is a Korean business, which is very popular in here. Banks, perfumes. Here, this construction I was telling you some other time, that was built around the 50s. This is from the 20s, 30s, neoclassical construction, if I'm not that wrong. And it belongs to the Bank of Mexico, which is the institute, the bank that, the regulatory bank, the government bank. Now, this Viceroy construction is very, very popular because it's known as the mosaic house, la casa de los azulejos. These mosaics were implemented, and the design is known as Talavera. It is a design original from the Puebla state, the neighbor state. From Mexico City. And it's now a business, the Sanborns Brothers business. We are in the corner of Calle Condesa and Francisco y Madero. This avenue has seen a lot of history. Almost more than 500 years of history that is just recorded from the colony, and even before, from the Aztec Empire, that we can account for another 200 years for the most. Here we have this entrance of the San Francisco Church, that is just right there, that is one of the old church. This San Francisco church has some exhibition of the Sumaya Museum. We can watch it in here. This is downtown. And here we have a map of the downtown. Specifically, we are just in here. This is the entrance. This is this blue palace that we just show you. This is the entrance of this museum. And if we travel this, we're gonna find the very heart of Mexico City, the Zócalo, the Constitution Plaza, as it's being called. Here are the government, local government and federal government buildings. Let me see if we can. These are typical and local sweets, merengues. And here we have sculptures that are specifically brought from Rodin and Dali. And I'm going to right quickly. This is Jesus Christ, and as it says, it is a sculpture of Salvador Dali. This is brought by a private entity for the Sumaya Museum. This is the martyr from Auguste Rodin. And here, also from Auguste Rodin, is Andrew Dandré Monumental. This is the despair of a man who decides to sacrifice his life to save his country, and is expressed through the look and tension of his body. You will tell me if this is Rodin. Of course, it is not. This is a very surrealistic sculpture from Salvador Dali. This is called anthropomorphical cabinet. From the drawers, they leave fabrics that symbolize, from as known from Freud's psychoanalysis, our most intimate secrets from your chest. What these sculptures make you feel. This is Rodin too. The colossal head, Pierre de Vicente. It was conceived around 1910 and it was funded in 1974 for the Sus house. Vicente decided to join to another 5 civic leaders that accorded to sacrifice their lives in the 1347 year. We are talking about 14th century, to liberate Calais city of the English occupation. The inclination of the head expressed some moving anguish. His monumental size and the lack of body amplified the agony of an intensity almost unbearable intensity. This is the lead. You just can't miss it. A surrealist Newton. The voids don't suggest the nothing. They are just, well, a window to the interior, as it says. This sphere, perfect figure for Dali, symbolizes the apple that took the physics for his universal postulate, the Newton postulate. There, a scientific, Michio Kaku, the scientific, was visited Museo Sumaya, and it says he saw the challenge to the gravity and the atomization of time in this sculpture. It's great, isn't it? Here we have another Rodin, the Eternal Spring. In the city there are a lot, some other representations, some other copies. This was conceived in 1888, and it was founded 20 years later in the 1918 for the House Leblanc Bardien. This is a Triumphant Angel by Salvador Dali. So let me see what the description was about. It was a conception from 1952. There is nothing more stimulating than the idea of an angel, said Dali.
¿Tu papá era de Santander?
No, mi papá era de
Here were visitors from all the world. I just heard some French people, some Sweden people. There are North American and English people that comes around. This is another piece of Auguste Rand, The Illusions Received for the Earth. You see? The critic Alexander Arsene wrote, "The angel has fallen to the earth, thrown from heaven. But a being has close to him is the earth who receives it, and who efforts to give him comfort." Here is a chronology of Rodin and Salvador Dali, their motives, their biographs, and some simultaneous coincidences of these artists. One of the very, very popular ideas of Salvador Dali, we have it in this profile of time. This watch melting from heat, memories. What it is doing? What it is doing that this watch melts? It is known that For Delhi, it was the time was one of their biggest obsessions because it faints, you just can't stop it. This blind watches was born from the idea of melted cheese. So he mixed that image of the melted cheese and the watch. Now, another Dali sculpture, Woman on Flames. Here we have again these drawer motifs mixed with the body of this woman. Woman aflame. Dali represents with a delicate gesture the feminine figure in ecstasy. It is a small exhibit, but it's open to the public. There are a lot of museums, places in here that are open to the public. And you can take your pictures. Just heard the vigilant police telling the people not to get too close to the sculptures. You can take your selfie, but be conscious. This is the plea from Auguste Rodin. So let's keep up with our ride. We haven't finished. I was just about to talk of this palace. I have a ride from to the corridor. So this is the house, the Azulejo house. It is known in Spanish is known as Casa de los Azulejos. These mosaics, as I was telling you, are, we can tell you, they were imported to Mexico City, and this style is known as Talavera. Here it says, House of the Orizaba Count. Its facade was decorated around the 1735. This is stated by the monuments, colonial monuments direction of the Republic. In this another plate, it says that in the 1662 it was acquired the main house in front of the San Francisco Convent. That is the San Francisco Convent. Sorry for that quick turn. By Don Antonio Urrutia de Vergara to leave it as a gift to the daughter, the third count of the Orizaba violin. That is stated in the 1919, but it is referring from the 1662 year. Now, it is a business. It has changes from properties. For several years belonged to the counts of the Orizaba Valley, and then it was changed for it was occupied for the world-class workmen, and after it was sold for local business. And in the beginning of the 20th century, it was used like a drugstore. These lower parks are the drugstore. But the business utterly growth, and they bought this palace. I have to ask permission to go with you to present it now. We're facing to the restaurant of the Casa of the Los Azulejos, this mosaic house. And they sell medicine, music, gifts, chocolates, anything you might buy here. Maybe I'm just entertaining a lot people in here in this place, but it is a lot of history here. When the Mexican Revolution happened, before the presidency of Francisco Madero, revolutionaries just passed through here, and they even after Madero was betrayed, the General Zapata and Francisco Villa, Pancho Villa, the very famous Pancho Villa, just walked over through here, and like that, there is a legend that states that Pancho Villa, instead of letting the name of this street as the first street of San Francisco, that it was just known until the 1928, he put not this plate, but another plate and called it this avenue as Francisco I. Madero Avenue, honoring the person that he supported and for he fought in the revolution of Mexico. This is the San Francisco Church. Let's get near a little to admire the facade. I mean, the interior is exquisite, it's incredible. Now it's a little dark, but I invite you to come over here and enjoy the Baroque details of the facade. It's just amazing. When this church was built, it was during the colony, when the Spanish Empire occupied Mexico, and they made these designs, but the builders ultimately were the natives, the indigenous people that live here. So sometimes with these details you will find some personal addings of the native people, and the religious who were the orders that imposed the Catholic religion, they allowed the people to make that personalizations, to make it more Mexican instead of strictly Hispanic one, the designs. But they do not exactly look like, well, they look like the Spanish buildings, the European buildings, but this red stone that you see here, is a stone very typical of Mexico. It is tezontle, a volcanic stone that emerges, and you can find on the hills. It's very, very popular. There are lots of construction. Even there are sometimes there are floors of tezontle, and makes make the details very, very particular of here, of these Mexican churches. As you see, we always love to have a nice snap, a nice picture of this place. Now this passage, this America passage. Here there's still a continuation of the business of December's business. And as you can see, there are a lot of other businesses. Here's another more modern church. This is the National Temple of San Felipe of Jesus, San Felipe de Jesus. If you compare this to the San Francisco Church, there are very obvious differences.
Otro 20. Cómpralo rápido, güey.
But it's more modern. As in the center, you'll find these Nova-Hispanic designs and very modern and another modern ones. So there is a tendency to the eclectic designs, which makes a very interesting passage, this Madero. Now, there are a lot of business, some chains, some are new, but there is any kind of local business that you can visit. This is a very famous bar, Salon Corona, one of the franchises. It's very famous, but it's for its beer, for its food. And as I walk with you, I'm gonna tell that this passage, it was at first it was not made for the public. It has vehicle traffic. There were cars that entered here in direction to the Zócalo, to the Constitution Plaza, and the local government thought of making it, close it to the vehicles for cars and transportation, to be closed, and just made it exclusively for people. And from the very first day, the people has not just stopped of coming to have a walk in this passage. There are plazas in here. That is Plaza Madero. There are restaurants, business. There are even bars on discotheques, and this another Nova-Hispanic building that we are seeing here. It is known as Banamex Museum. It has a very big collection of paintings, sculptures from the colonial Nova-Hispanic times, contemporary artists, and you can come over to visit it. Let's have a look. This is like their store. Yes, it is a store for souvenirs. We're seeing the back of the Tree of Life. I don't know if you can see it there, but that is the Tree of Life. And here are lots of souvenirs that you can borrow from Mexico. And look, these architectonic designs of these Novo-Hispanic palaces. They are distributed in this main part of downtown. The entrance to this museum of the Banamex Museum is free. You can enter. Here is the Banamex Bank. You can enter. It is totally free from 10 a.m. to I think it's until 9 of the night to the 21 hours of the day. So this passage crosses over another street that has the regular traffic. Here, as you can see, we are crossing with the rest of people. We have some seconds to cross. And this street is Bolivar from one side. This is Allende, and changes its name to Bolivar. You see the mix of the architecture. Let me see if I can give you a drone perspective. And not, this is not a drone what I bring here. This is my regular camera. That is if you are consumers now, there is become to legalize in other parts of these countries and other countries. That is a museum. It says Museum of Cáñamo and Marijuana. So these places are not just for consuming pot. It is just for change the idea of the marijuana culture, because it has medicine uses. So there are places that are changing their perspective about this kind of substances. Here we are outside. We are outside this bookstore known as Gandhi. Here, there's one person near to me to salute me. Not in the most respectful way, but it's a way that it's a Mexico way. So as you can see, This is my intent of drone view of the passage.
Mira, padre.
Ay, gracias. So, this is another famous street, Motolinia. It is populated by optics, lenses, glasses. And there are all kind of businesses, very small, regular. It is. We are arriving to a zone that has jewels, but we can have coffee, little business of money exchange, optics. And some of the buildings are still offices, except for this one. This is obviously church buildings. There were some churches that were completely Baroque. This is not so. I mean, it is from the period. Let's just get near a little more. I believe it's just not open. But it's incredible. Now, that corner belongs to is another museum. Estanquillo Museum. There are exhibitions of paintings and a personal collection of a critic and journalist person that it is Carlos Monsiváis. There is the collection, the personal collection, and there are other exhibitions of cartoonists from the journals, from the papers. We are seeing there Juan Garcia Ponce, a famous writer, Mexican writer, and that is Carlos Monsiváis. Here we are seeing right and left the Jewel Center. You can come here to buy silver, gold, rings, earrings. You can. There are restaurants, ice cream, steel, Jewel Center. There are several business. These are the selling places. Regular upstairs there are their offices or another kind of offices. And it is a mix of business. Here is the last street before the Madero Passage finishes and arrives to the heart of the city. Let's just wait. This is the street of the Palm. And as you can see, it's just big. I mean,
I guess you just go if it's
I'm going to present you some other streets, but there have been remodelation and restorations of the zone. Not all the time because it's really expensive, but there have been several investments of millions of dollars to restore this downtown. We're ready to cross. Let's cross. Ice cream, electronics, clothing, souvenirs, couples, happy couples. Still jewelry. We're just there in the back. We're just watching the National Palace. That is the federal government palace, the office where Mexico president resides and offices. This building is like the national pawn shop, and this is Majestic Hotel. I'm gonna get back here to go up that place and show you to have a good meal in there. This passage is usually jewelry businesses. Still we have jewelry here, and there we have the center of the city. See. Now, let me show you. Before I cross, let's cross. Now this time, let's have changed. These are for bicycle taxis. Bici taxi, as it is known. And here are like these people like in the Alameda Central that talk in religion. There are religion, there are politics. So, as I was saying to you, this is the Zócalo. We are just walking over Zócalo, the Constitution Plaza. That is the building of the federal government. And in here we have the Mexico Cathedral.
que estás en el cielo, santificado sea tu nombre. Venga a nosotros tu reino y hágase
And
tu voluntad. ¿Qué voluntad hace el hombre en la
this church has most of the buildings
Un día Jesucristo estaba en la cruz y le dijo, Padre,
that surround
en tus
us
manos encomiendo mi
in the
vida.
downtown
En tus manos
are over
encomiendo mi espíritu. Si Jesucristo,
the
el Hijo de Dios,
constructions
siendo un Dios, dio su
of the
vida
Aztec
y puso
Empire.
su vida en las manos
Many
de
were
Dios.
destructed.
La pregunta sería,
The very stones were
¿tu
used
vida
to
en qué
build
manos está? ¿En las manos del
these
chamán?
palaces,
¿En las manos del
and
que hace
moreover,
santería? ¿O en
this
las manos de
cathedral.
Dios? ¿O en las manos del mundo? Eso está en tu corazón. Por eso Dios te
in that side.
su palabra está en
Let's say that about that corner where we find the major temple of the Aztec Empire that is just below the ground. It was opened after it was discovered, and it has been watched for exhibition. Still, most of the time, this plaza, which is the biggest, one of the biggest of Mexico, it is free. You can walk over here as in any park. There are no restrictions, and from time to time it is occupied by exhibitions, festivals. Sometimes there are music concerts, free music concerts of international, Latin American, Mexican artists. Now the pandemic has made a change of it. And we are just getting back slowly to the regular activities with the necessary COVID-19 restrictions. So that is National Palace. The balcony that we see there in the center is where the president in turn lives in the night of the September 5th to celebrate Mexico's independence. From there he screams to the people that is gathered. Just imagine people gathered behind me. Here they reunite and shout with the president, "Viva Mexico! Long live to our independence! Long live to the heroes that gave us our homeland." With pandemic, the celebration has been limited, and there were no people, but just fireworks, maybe some music that are transmitted, and are transmitted through TV. But look, what a great place. These other two buildings, mostly this one, is of the Mexico City government, the local government of the city. So downtown is a very, very pleasant place to go around when the season of Christmas, of the very independence seasons. These buildings are just illuminated with lightings, with designs and motifs of the seasons. As we're watching now, we are watching the north of the Zócalo. And we just came from, that is where Madero Passage is. These other accompanying streets are the entrance from the west to the east to downtown. But Madero, until now, is the only one street that is closed just for the people who walk. The others are just open for vehicle traffic, as you can see here. And there are plans to close it, but that hasn't happened yet, and people does not stop to come every day for business, for pleasure, for have a walk, for distraction to this place of the downtown. Here is where it waves the national flag of Mexico. Every morning from 7 a.m. to 6 of the afternoon, there is the Mexican flag. So this is the heart of the downtown. We were just facing before the north, now we're facing the south. That's November 20 Avenue, and it's called after the Mexican Revolution that began on that date in the 1910th of the 20th century. So as you can see, now the night is falling. It is still very, very calm to have a walk. There are people who like to walk all over downtown. Of course, there are workers in here, but the people who can take their walks, they're very pleased. I mean, I found people from other countries that comes to have the opportunity to visit here. I mean, we're walking over more than a 500-year history. Here it is where it was established first the Aztec Empire. There were before another colonies, another neighborhoods of diverse natives before the Aztecs took over. And after the Aztecs, they were conquered by the Spaniards. Then began this another period of the Spanish Empire to rule over the New Mexico. There is the Grand Hotel. On those balconies, you can have your meals and have this view from above of the plaza of the Zócalo. We're heading back again to Madero Passage. And now that this night has beginning to fall, you can imagine how it is to have a walk here during the night. I have a walk here just after you met your friends, after you came from work. And if you have some favorite place in this passage, so you can arrive there, have a good time, and get back to your home. But if you are visiting Mexico City, this is the place that you can't miss. And testify for yourself how pleasant it is to walk in Madero Avenue, Francisco y Madero Avenue. So bear with me, we're heading back a little more on Madero Avenue.
Dile que es importante los lentes.
Oye, Carlos, ¿no tenías uno de esos? Oye, ¿por qué no lo usas?
Well, you didn't saw that crossing over the red light. So we're still seeing people just in the high hours of the night. It is when there is less people. Of course, now the pandemic is getting over. It just been controlled. The people have now the opportunity. They were yearning for the opportunity to leave their houses, and with their masks on, enjoy the ride. We're hearing now this music from the little organs that populates the streets of the downtown. Oh, the green light is finishing. Let's run a little. Here we are again. The next part of this Madero Avenue. I mean, if you walk like this calmly, this you can get through in less of an hour. Let's say 50 minutes if you walk straight from Alameda Central to the Central Alameda Park to the Constitution Plaza. But if you stop watching every business, stopping for a little dessert, a little ice cream, a little coffee, then you can take more of an hour crossing this passage. until the very center of the downtown. That is the Constitution Plaza. Some business like are closing. Their time is just get over it. But some others still continues, and other ones opens. So here, this is me inviting you again to come to Mexico City and know very well the streets of the downtown. So with this last view, I say to you goodbye.